GitHub is this giant software database where people upload and share projects with each other. It's used all over the world. It's used by countless different types of industries, countless developers and companies. If you use a piece of software, it was almost certainly shared on GitHub in some way. In fact, just to show you, the Microsoft calculator is here on GitHub. So the Windows calculator was created, a long time ago, and over the years has been developed and shared on GitHub. So GitHub is kind of like a cloud service like Google Drive or Dropbox or something like that, where you can upload your content and just kind of have it sitting there. It also has what's called version control. So if I uploaded a project and let's say a week later I uploaded the same project again, but I had made some changes, it would keep redundant copies. So it would keep a copy of the old version and a copy of the new version and show me the changes that were made. So for example, if I go to this Microsoft calculator, there's 227 commits, which are 227 approved changes. And if I click that, I can see how people have changed. So on June 28th, this person ensured consistent margins padding with currency converter. This person changed this and yada, yada, yada. We can scroll through and see what everyone has done and actually see the code that was modified. So GitHub is kind of this big confusing thing that I think can be really difficult to understand at first. For our purposes, for now, the only thing that you need to know is that it's a place to upload your projects to and share them with others. Okay, that's the most important thing to know. So on GitHub, after you've made your account, your default dashboard will look something like this. You may not have repositories on the side, and in fact, it may ask you to create your first repository, and that's what we're going to do for this class. On the left-hand side, I'm going to click New, and here's the new repository screen where it shows my username, and if I wanted to make this as, for instance, I own an organization, I would switch to that organization, but I'm just going to leave it as my username, and I'm going to add a repository name. Now, repository names are usually several words with hyphens between them, so I'll say patterns of application design test or something like that. I'll give a description, you don't have to, and then you can either have your repository be public or private. We're going to leave our repositories as public, okay? A big part of GitHub is sharing your projects with each other, and I want you as classmates to share your projects with each other, but also that's how you'll submit things for me to grade. I won't be able to see them if they're private, so it's easier just to leave them as public. The last step here is to initialize this repository with a README. A README is like a little descriptor file. It's a file that you would write, here's my project. If I go back to the Microsoft Calculator project, as I scroll down, this is their README. You can see readme.md, and this README has images and all kinds of information in it telling you about their project. These are the actual files within the project, and that's what you'll be uploading later. So if I go back to create new repository, I initialize it with a README. I don't need to worry about either of these. A license has to deal with how people can look at your code and share your code. So you can say, oh, I want to have like a public license and let people, share and modify my code, or you can restrict that a little bit. And a git ignore is just not important for this class. So I'm going to hit create repository, and it will build the repository out, and you'll be brought to the repo or repository screen. So here I have my username, and I have my repository name. In this, I have the description, where I can see how many commits or different versions that I've created. Branches, which branches deal with, basically, I have a version of my software and I want to try out some new things, so I might branch it, meaning I would make a new copy of my project that I can modify and then later pull back into the larger project. We have our README file, so this is the only file in here right now. And here's our README content, which we can change simply by clicking this, or we can change it and upload a new file later. On the top bar, we have issues, which, like, if we were making, public software, people could submit issues. So if I go back to this Microsoft calculator and the issues screen, I can see people, with different complaints and things that, oh, this doesn't work, etc. You need to change this, and that's where those would go. Pull requests have to deal with branches and other people modifying your software, so it's not important for us in this class. Projects is a cool screen where you can create basically like to-do lists for your project. A wiki is where you could create a database of information. I don't know if this one doesn't have a wiki, but basically it's a more advanced README file. Security lets you change the preferences of your file, of your repo, your repository. Insights, where you can see how many people have committed, who's committed, etc. And then the settings screen, where you can delete your repository and do various things like that. So I'll go back to the code screen. And on the code screen, what I want to do now is I'm going to clone my project. And I'll show you how to do that in the next video, to clone your project and have it ready to go in Xcode.